Welcome to another lively episode of Business Learning Lab, where myself, Jennifer Crawford, and my business partner, Meredith Eaton, we share all the mistakes that we have made on our journey of an entrepreneurship. We share them because they're funny sometimes, but also because we want to hopefully save you from making similar mistakes. So, Meredith, today you wanted to talk about the cost of being cheap in your business. That's the hot topic today. What made this topic so important to you?
Well, we were talking about it naturally, so I figured why not roll it into our learning lab? Because another lesson I've learned is that if we can't get off a topic, then it's a good topic to talk about. And because it's a lesson we learn all the time ourselves, but also it is a lesson that our clients learn or need to learn, and that we encounter this. I think you encounter this a lot when you are doing our discovery calls. So let's start there. Start by taking us through one of these classic discovery calls where you run into this mindset of trying. And so what we mean by the cost of being cheap is people who are trying to save every penny with no awareness or no thought to the bigger picture, to the impact that certain things are investment, that you're always just trying to find the cheapest, the least expensive way to get the outcome that you want, which might not be the outcome you're going to get. But so take us through one of these calls, these discovery calls.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we totally get it from the perspective of being bootstrap business owners, right? That's what we are. Every business we have run, we have pretty much bootstrapped it. So I think being a bootstrapping entrepreneur, it's very easy to slip from being fiscally responsible to being cheap to the detriment of the growth and health and development of your business. So if we're talking about discovery calls, I hear this all the time from entrepreneurs who have businesses that have great momentum, right? And what's happened is as their business has continued to grow, so have all of their administrative demands, all of the operational demands have exploded, and entrepreneurs, business owners find themselves unable to continue that momentum without finding help. But then comes the day where they need that help and they learn how much that help costs. Whether it's a virtual assistant with us, another agency, whether it's a first hire. And then all of a sudden, they're like a turtle going back in their shell. And they're like, well, maybe doing all this stuff ain't so bad. I mean, I can't afford that. And, a lot of times it's a couple of things, right? It's a mindset, understanding what the value of your time and how delegating things that you do not need to be doing, in other words, the things that other people can do, how that frees you up to be the CEO of your own business, where you can concentrate on the development, the strategy, the vision of your company, so you can actually take it, to the next level, understanding that value and understanding that it's an investment in your business. So there's the mindset issue. And there's also often a math problem. I always say, like, business is a big math problem, but not complex math. It's all addition, subtraction, multiplication. And what's happened is, you haven't planned, you haven't thought about your business, its needs when you do grow, and your business has needs. If you have plans to, grow your business to a certain level, like say over six figures, or past the 100,000 mark, you're going to need help. And if you haven't structured your pricing to support that day, then of course that's going to be sticker shock for you.
Absolutely.
And it's an indication that you're not charging enough. Your rates are out of line with the business that you want to develop. So two issues, a lot of times they're right on top of each other, happening at the same time. So it's a big dig. And then the third thing, which is those two things I can understand, and I feel like, we can address them. My pet peeve, the third issue, Meredith, this
Yes.
is thinking that the value of the admin is not worth the cost because it's just an admin, it's unskilled
Just
labor. It's
admin.
just an admin. It shouldn't cost $45 an hour. Well, and we're going to do a separate business learning lab on this, but admins today it is a highly skilled position, and admins are often responsible for, holding your business together. They're often the backbone of your business. They're often client facing. Sometimes the first person that a potential customer will encounter with your business. I know so many businesses that rely so strongly on amazing administrative talent. They are worth their weight in gold. It is highly skilled labor. So it's a pet peeve of mine for it to see this labor force undervalued. We always joke around, Meredith, you're always the first person to say you couldn't do it.
I could not do it.
You're not up for that. You're not up for a highly skilled admin.
No, I am not cut out for that.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson like we've learned as the owners of virtual admin, but also as business owners, just straight up. Like not that we, that this is the business we're in, because there's admin, like buying this new company. And we were bootstrapping, and we didn't have, not only do we not have the money, but we didn't have the systems we didn't even know what we needed to get help on. So it just, as it came up, I would handle it. And it was awful, not very good at it. I can run a company. I can grow a company to 6 figures. I can do a lot of things. I am not smart enough. I am not trained. I don't know what it is. I can't do admin work. And it's not because it's below me. I'm not suited. Like, I'm not skilled enough. I am not, whatever it is. It is absolutely valuable. It is what keeps the company running. And to shortchange that is crazy. It's the detriment of your company. It's potentially the detriment of your sanity, and the detriment of the actual work that's getting done. But the other piece of this, so we talk about, like, in a very dollars and cents way, the cost of being cheap. So, someone needs to hire admin, and they think, I'm not going to pay $45 an hour. I'm not going to pay $27 an hour. Whatever. I can get it for $12 an hour because it's just admin, which, again, that's a whole other thing. But why would I pay $45 an hour when I could pay $12 an hour? And that is where we get into the cost, because when you're paying the $12 an hour, and most of the time that's overseas labor, most of the time that means you're participating in some exploitative, probably sex trafficking, and that's another topic, okay? Leaving all that aside, $12 an hour. How much is that person being paid? If you're paying it directly to them, they're making $12. If you're going through an agency, that person's making six,
yeah.
More. How loyal are they going to be to your business?
Not loyal.
Pride are they going to have?
No pride.
How much follow through are they going to have?
Not a lot of motivation there.
No. If they get offered a job for $7 an hour,
bye-bye.
Yeah. Are they going to do any offboarding?
Bye-bye.
Yeah. None of it.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, Meredith, because I actually had a recent discovery call this is over at Move Forward, our virtual assistant agency for mental health practitioners. And this gentleman showed up to the discovery call, and I thought he was ready to go. He was like, I've had such bad experience with virtual assistants. I have been through 3. They've all been bad. I'm swimming in admin work. My other therapists are going, they're just like so overwhelmed with scheduling. We have all these needs. My practice is falling apart. When can you start? Well, then, he finds out what we charge for our VA services, which over there it's $48 an hour. And he's like, let me just stop you right there. I am not interested. That is way more than I was paying. I was paying $15 an hour. And it wasn't overseas. All of his VAs were overseas. And I said, well, that's fine. But you came to me telling me that you'd had high turnover, people disappeared, the communication was poor. You have all of these problems. But guess what? He didn't go with us. I'm sure he went and looked for another $15 an hour agency. So It
Yeah.
boggles my mind. It boggles my mind.
And that's the cost. And that's the hidden cost. I guess we could have called this the hidden cost of being cheap, right?
What a name, yeah.
Which is that these are the things you don't think because you don't value your time. You're not thinking about in a dollars and cents way, in a math way, what have you lost by having to start over, of spending the time to find a new virtual assistant or whoever it is that you're replacing, getting them back up to speed, getting them all the passwords, getting them all the instructions, whatever it is, the learning curve. Like, what is all of that time worth to you? Having someone that you know will be there, that, or if they are going to leave, will have a conscientious transition. They're not just going to disappear. How many times have we heard this story of people come and they're like, well, I had this virtual assistant and they just disappeared. They just ghosted.
Yeah.
Right? If we had $1 for every time we heard that, we could start another company. Like, we could rescue some of these exploited people in other countries that are doing this work. And that's the cost. That's the problem, right? So you could pay more upfront and then amortize that. And you, on average, at Sparent, our VAs stay with their clients for 8 to 15 months, depending on, other certain, but like generally speaking, there's not a lot of turnover. So all the advantage of that, the streamlining, the efficiencies, the economies of scale, the comfort level, the ability for that person to start to take ownership, to have initiative, to remember things, to anticipate problems, are all huge advantages. They're going to help your company grow. They're going to take more things off your plate that are going to help you move into just being CEO. And all of that gets lost when you're just looking for the cheapest solution. It's, we talk about fast fashion as, an environmental problem, but this is like fast admin, or so. I don't know what it is, but it is costing you so much more money than you realize. On a straight dollars and cents way, we're not even talking about the mindset and the obstruction of growth and all these other things. Just doing the math, you are losing so much money. One is losing so much money with that kind of thinking.
It is so true. And, we've talked mainly about, delegating to, administrative help, because that's, that's our jam for sure. So we have to talk about that. But I have seen entrepreneurs, business owners be so incredibly cheap, even in the small scale. And this is what it really just, again, boggles my mind. My mind has been boggled to death today. And I shared this story with you earlier, Meredith, but I was in a Facebook group. I remember this clearly, and it was a networking group for women business owners. And one of the women business owners posted this question, and she wanted to know if Canva was worth the $12 a month, or could she just stick with the free version? Like, what would she get? What, like, for $12 a month? Now, I don't think there is a business out there, very few businesses out there, that have not been able to utilize Canva to the benefit of their business. So here's this business owner wondering about $12 a month. She's taken time to post. She gets lots of, answers to her question, which she's responding to. So now I don't know, maybe she spent 2 hours on the conservative end, 2 hours on this post. Well, Canva's only $144 a year, or at least it was at the time. I don't know if that's still true. $144 a year. I don't know how she values her time, but she should have just bought the annual Canva membership for what she spent on this Facebook post. And this is like, you shouldn't be these should not be questions that you're posing as a business owner, whether or not you should spend $12 a month. Like, that is, to me, that is so indicative of a bigger mindset problem, and a bigger problem in your business. I'm not advocating that you spend money you don't need to spend, but when you have a tool like Canva and it's $12 a month, and you need it for a variety of design needs in your business, like, spend the $12 a month. I've seen business owners bend over backwards to keep the free version of apps that they use on a daily basis in their business. They will trip over themselves trying to work around the free version. Whether, no matter how inconvenient, how much extra time it's taking out of their day, just to keep the free version of the app. Pay for the app.
Just
If
pay
you
for it.
need the app, you always need the paid version. If you are
Yes.
using an app for your business, you always need the paid version. Use the free version just to make sure it's useful for you. But after that, pay.
Yeah.
If it's useful, pay for the app.
Worst case scenario, it turns out you don't use as much as you thought, so you cancel. Like, again, we're not signing in blood for these things. But my other huge pet peeve, and why I had to actually leave several Facebook groups that were meant for like business owners and entrepreneurs, was the number of times in a week someone would post asking how to accept payments without having to pay the transaction fees.
Oh, that's a good one, Meredith. That's so good. That's so good. That is a pet peeve of mine as well.
I can't handle it. And the number of people who engage, like there's always some people who say it's a cost doing business, just accept it. And like for most places, like it's pretty universal, about 2.9% plus whatever, 30 cents, 15 cents, whatever. You're almost always around the 3% range. Okay. Everybody's paying it. Everybody, if you can't sacrifice 3%, raise your prices. And before anyone says, well, I won't have any clients if I raise my prices 3%, go see our other learning lab where we talked about, no, I don't even know if we did learning lab on this, but if you can't do your business the way you want to do it, and if you can't do it in a way that's profitable and lets you not be crazy, don't do it. Then do something else. Failure is not an option. That was the learning lab we did. So go see that one if you're going to argue with me.
We talk about that. Yeah. Oh, that is such a good pet peeve. And that just reminded me, we did business recently with a company. I'm not going to give a lot of details on this company because, we love this business owner and we don't regret doing business with this company. But this company used a free version of a payment platform. All right. So they needed to process credit cards for their clients. So they picked a platform, but instead of paying the paid version, they used the free version, again, to save money. Well, Meredith handles like payments, like when we need to pay for things, she tends to handle the invoices and things. Making a payment through that platform was such a nightmare because there was no because it was on the free version. It took Meredith, I don't know how much time to actually get the payment process. A ridiculous amount of time, considering this is a service we're trying to give you money.
Yeah, and the whole point was it put the payment processing fee on me, so we could either pay it as a debit card transfer with no fees or EFT transfer, or pay it with a credit card, but then we pick up that 3% transaction fee, which first of all, I just got done saying, it's only 3%, who cares? But psychologically, it irks me that I have to pay that 3% because I'm already paying that 3% on the services I'm billing for, right? So like all my money coming in has already had that 3% taking off, and now I'm going to take that money to pay for this service, and I'm going to pay another 3%. Like it's just irritating.
Well, and not only that, but boys and girls, read your terms of service on your payment processors.
Yes.
Because most terms of service, I haven't read every single payment processor's terms of service, but every one that I have read prohibits you from passing on that fee to the customer.
Yep.
Not that you're going to get caught, but it is in there.
Yes. And I think this platform was out of another country. I think it was out of Canada, possibly. So it was just why they're able to exist. But what happened was our bank flagged it as fraud and would not allow us to do business with them anymore. So then the whole payment process got even more complicated because, of course, the stupid system would just say decline, decline, decline. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening. We have all the money in the account. The credit card has space. Like, I don't understand what's happening. So I finally had to email the company and say, why won't you take our payment? And they said, your bank has declared that we are fraud and you have to take it up with your bank. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I'll just send a check through the bank, whatever. But we made it clear. We've talked about it with the business owner. She understands. She's changing her thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But she had to wait so long to get paid, right? I'm hassled. I'm frustrated. This is all impacting. I mean, we have a strong enough relationship with this company that it's not going to do any permanent damage. But if we didn't really know this company that well, if we weren't attached to the owner, this could have been it. We could have canceled because I don't have patience when I'm trying to give you money and a good amount of money not $10, like a decent amount of money, and you make it hard for me.
I know. That's, I mean, yeah, and it's all a result of being, cheap.
Trying to save 30%, and it made it so that she went like 6 weeks at one point without getting any funds from us while we were trying to figure all this out. And that's a big hit from her cash flow perspective. I felt terrible. And I mean, I probably could have figured it out sooner, but I didn't have time. I don't have time to figure out dumb administrative problems that shouldn't be happening in the first place.
I know. It's so nutty. And, and we're being very critical, but we've also been there. We've also been the cheap business owner. Yes. I remember, the early days of Sparent, we were trying to use all of the knowledge that we had brought forward in our past to this new company. And, in a lot of ways we did, we were very knowledgeable business people when we started the company. And even then, we still cheaped out when it came to our website. We launched a rebrand and a new website, new photography, all of that a little over a year ago. But we were in business almost 3 years before we got that. And in retrospect, looking back, I realized that we had struggled to attract our ideal client. And during that time, and I definitely contribute that to how our brand came across on our online real estate, because we, our brand wasn't polished. It wasn't well defined. It was a DIY Squarespace website. Neither of us are website designers. Yeah, we could put a basic website up, but it wasn't great. And I don't think it necessarily would instill confidence in somebody that, came off the internet somehow and landed on our page. So it's really hard. It's sort of a dark space expense, right? Like I can't quantify how much money we lost by not investing in a website earlier, but I know it cost us. And, we were a little cheap, we didn't have all, the money for a full rebrand on day one of our business. Right. But I think if we had respected a little bit more seriously the cost of not doing that, we probably would have had it done faster and not taken so much time.
Or made a middle ground decision. Like we spent a lot of money on the logo without really understanding, and then we didn't spend any money on the website. And so we may have made a different decision of how we spent that money in a different way until we had enough for the full rebrand.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I'm sure there's 1,000 other times where we have, because I'm very aware of the fact that I learned this lesson, like in my brain, I feel it as a thing that I've had to learn. And at times have to remind myself, I'm a bit personally in my personal life, a bit of a bargain hunter, love a coupon. And that comes forward into my business decisions sometimes. So it's a thing I'm always learning. Jen helps me a lot with that. She's not struggled with that problem. And so it's an evolving thing. So if you're one of these people that's still, struggling with the cost of being cheap, it's an evolution and we've been there, but really, 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 this is our takeaway of all our ranting and carrying on. The takeaway is stop to think about the cost of buying cheap, starting cheap, if you can avoid it. Are you going to have to replace it? Are there other hidden costs that are going to get in your way? Just think about it. Just don't blindly go for the cheapest option every single time.
Yeah. Don't disrespect your business. Don't disrespect your business. You're building something, hopefully a legacy. You're building an asset. Treat it like such. And I think that goes a long way in reaching the mindset that will help you make better decisions on what actually is an investment rather than an expense, and making those, wiser decisions when it comes to spending money on your business and for your business.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right, this was a long one. But hopefully it was worth it. I feel better. I don't know.
I had to vent today one way or another. So that got that accomplished. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the next I was at Burning Lab. I was like, business. All right, later. Bye.
Bye.